Welcome to Under the Fig Tree podcast from the Enrollment Office at Concordia Seminary. Join us as we talk theology and life under the fig tree.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Under the Fig Tree. I'm Pastor Tom Schlund, joined by
Katie Gaschler,
our wonderful co-host. We're glad to be back with you for another episode as things are moving right along here this semester. Katie, how are things going for you?
Good. They are busy. I'm taking one class at a time in the Deaconess program, so that adds some fun and different aspect to things going on. But we wrapped up our busiest visit season for the fall, and now we're just kind of working on anticipating the next things. So, yeah.
And there are always plenty of things that seem to be
There are
coming.
always plenty of things, yeah.
Yeah. And since the last time I think that we had an episode out, we've had a baby. So we're adjusting to life with 3 kids instead of 2. And anybody who ever says that they've slept like a baby as a positive thing doesn't understand how babies sleep.
Yeah.
So he's pretty good most of the time, but there are nights where you're just like, don't you want to go to sleep?
Yeah, you've looked tired a few days.
Please go to sleep. Me or the baby?
You. I don't.
Yes. Yeah. So, but it's fun to have him around, and we're enjoying that.
You haven't brought him to the office yet, though.
That's true. I will need to do that sometime.
Mm-hmm.
You've only gotten to see pictures from afar.
Yeah.
But
he can be on the podcast.
That's true. We should bring him on.
Yeah.
He would either sleep or scream. So that would be one of those artistic podcasts, right? Where you just have babies screaming for 30 minutes.
Let's do it.
I don't know who would want to listen to that.
Well, now that we've gone off the rails.
Already, within just the first 2 minutes. As a recruitment podcast, we're always looking for ways to help our prospective students get a better sense for what life is like here on campus, and also to provide resources that help ease that transition or some of the concerns. And so that has led us to our guest today. We're joined on the couch or under the fig tree by Mike Broberg, who's the administrator for, I got to get this right, residential services.
Yeah, it's a very important title.
Yes. I know you hold to it very strictly.
It's on my tattoo.
I think I call you something different, like call your title something different every time I say it. But thanks for being here today. We appreciate that. Mm-hmm. Our focus today is going to be on kind of a little bit about housing, but also about some of the resources that we provide here on campus related to our food bank and our Resell It shop. But before we get to all of that, Mike, can you tell us a little bit more about you? How'd you get here? What did you do before you came here? I don't know, whatever you want to talk about in terms of your journey to being here at Concordia Seminary. My
journey to the seminary never had the seminary in mind.
Yeah.
So
that's a lot of our applicants, actually.
Perhaps. But I spent a lot of time working at a few different Christian colleges, and usually in student life and the non-academic side of things. And 4 years ago, my wife was ready for a new job opportunity, and we had moved a few times on behalf of my search, and we had moved because of my interest for professional development or different opportunities. And so it was time for us to move because of her. And so she did a search. She landed in St. Louis, and then I followed like a loving spouse and made some calls, had some conversations, and found the seminary at that point who was looking for someone in this highly exalted title in residence services. So that's how I got to the seminary. We came for my wife's situation and opportunities, and in this case, it was a great opportunity, and I found that this is a very enjoyable role for me, and it's about relationships and it's about people. So I do other things, but I spend most of my time talking to people and trying to assist students to be successful.
And that's maybe a good transition. Can you talk a little bit more about what your role entails? Like what does it mean to be the administrator of residential services?
Yeah, I'm never sure of the title, but thank you.
We'll say it as many times as we can.
This is the 4th time I've heard the title since I've been here.
I just call you the housing man.
The housing man.
That's what I usually call you.
The guy at lunch. All those things are fine. in a broad stroke, I oversee areas that provide services for students that have nothing to do with classes. So it's a non-academic role. So for those who live on campus, we have a great deal of interaction. For those who eat on campus, we have a great deal of interaction. And then there's some service areas that we'll get to about the food bank and the resale shop that also kind of fall under my radar of services. In general, I just want students to succeed, and a lot of that happens in the classroom, but there's a lot of things that are not part of the classroom that I tend to work on those areas that are not part of the classroom. And I think it's kind of a privilege to come to work. I enjoy the students. I enjoy making a difference.
It's hard to be successful in the classroom if you don't have a place to sleep or food to eat or
I think people have struggles and challenges in addition to studying for Chapter 7's paper.
Right.
I was going to actually comment on that too. The care for the students outside of the classroom, I think, is huge, and I think the seminary does a really good job on many aspects of that. But I feel like you're our unsung hero of giving people places to live and things like that. So that's something really important. And you try to meet with all of our visitors when they come and kind of talk about those things.
Especially the families that want to come and take a look at an apartment to see if it's going to work for them or not. The single students who come generally have had some kind of dorm experience, and they take a look and they say, oh, this is not so bad. I can live here. Oh, this makes sense. But when folks are moving to campus with their families, I think they need to see it in order to get a sense of what they're getting into. And then they'll decide, can some of our second career folks who have had years of accumulation of stuff then come to a 2 or 3 bedroom apartment, it's a little rough for them. And so often they'll see it and say, oh, okay, we can work here. This will make sense. But I think visually is helpful. So I think we try to get them in to see an apartment.
I think on an earlier episode, we talked with President Egger about new things that are coming and briefly talked about the campus master plan. And I'm looking forward to the day when we can talk more specifically and kind of in greater depth on what that's going to look like. But maybe for the time being, for those who are listening or watching, do you want to maybe just give us a quick overview of what housing is like on campus before we jump into those other things and maybe some of the benefits that you've observed of living here on campus?
There's 2 different sections of housing that I work with. There's single student housing, and we have 65 single students who are on campus and live in dorms. They're on a meal plan, so they eat in the dining hall 10 meals a week, and they have their activities, they have relationships and things like that. And then there are 75 apartments that we have for married couples or families. And so those 75 apartments are 30 years old. They're getting tired. And so the master plan of transition and building new is going to be really exciting. And so, but I think folks in the next couple of incoming classes will experience the current standard before we build the new. And so there are different reasons why people choose to live on campus. One, I think we certainly have subsidized the price so that we make it affordable for people. And Clayton, this area around here is high rent area. And so if folks want to be near campus, they find that it's a little price prohibitive for some of them. And so sometimes the price is right and they want to live on campus. Other times they want the convenience of living with community neighbors that are all seminarians. And so seminarians make very nice neighbors. And so there's a commonness, and spouses and children build relationships. And so there's a community sense that's really exciting. Some live off campus because there's just no way they can take their 4-bedroom, 3-bath house and put it into our setting, and it doesn't work for them. And then others live off campus because they really want to have 2 communities. They want to have a community on campus, and they want to build relationships off campus. And so that being off campus allows you to have a second, a neighborhood experience. But by and large, if you talk to someone and they're living on campus, they'll say, oh, you've got to live on campus, it's great. And if you talk to someone who's living off campus, they'll say, you got to live off campus, it's great. And so I think that both are happy. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. I've chosen this and it's great, is how it tends to work. We lose very few people. Once they've chosen to be on campus, we'll lose one or two that will move off campus after a year. Typically, there's a special opportunity, or there's their relationships have changed, or something has gone on that's changed. But
maybe they got married and now they can't live in the
if we don't have an open
dorm.
If we don't, they can't stay in the single dorm. We're traditional about that kind of thing. Yeah, we also, just as a bonus, we have 10 or 12 international students who are married, but their spouses and families aren't here. So they're married, but they live in the single dorm because they're single here. That's their status. And for the single students who choose to live on campus, they love being a minute from the dining hall and having someone cooking and cleaning up after them. And then they love being 2 minutes from class. And so the convenience is really good. And I think when they look at something else, it's hard to find a cheaper option that is relatively close. And so they can find a cheaper option, but then they're not sure if that's really what they want when they take a look at it. So convenience, price, and neighbors are the primary reasons why people want to stay on campus.
Yeah, and I think the community aspect can't be understated at all, or overstated? Overstated. Yeah. You shouldn't understate. Anyway,
shouldn't talk too much about that, because
you can't talk too much about it. But never mind. Figure it out. It's really important, is basically what I'm saying. A lot of the students say that they love being on campus for that, and that they're super close to all the activities, and oftentimes you're leaving a lot to come here, and having neighbors that are just right there going through nearly exactly the same thing is really important.
Yeah, it certainly helps with the transition to have people who are understanding what you're going through and going through it with you. And somebody has told me the story about how their kids grew up together on campus and then got married eventually.
Aww.
So there are even love stories that come out of the woods. So.
I'm emotional. You're making me all teared up.
So
I don't think that's part of the plan.
Not typically, no, but
can't guarantee
that can be the depth of the relationships that develop.
And I think we need to mention that the kids that live in the woods are called woodlings.
Yes.
Which is adorable. And they run around together.
Because the married student housing is called the woods.
The woods, yeah.
Yes. So, well, that's good. I think housing is always one of the big concerns that we face as students are looking to potentially come here. And so it's good for people to be able to know. And if you come to visit us here on campus, you get to tour housing with Mike. He'll take you through either the single student building or a married apartment, and you get to see it for yourself. But at least this gives a little bit of an overview. So like I mentioned before, part of our focus today too is just things that relate to cost. And so you mentioned with the housing that one of the benefits that people enjoy is the cost. And while our tuition is fully guaranteed, there's still living expenses that people have to face. And so there's housing, but there's also food and clothes and other things that can be pricey. And so the seminary has a food bank and a resell it shop. Could you tell us a little bit maybe first about the food bank and how that operates and how students are able to utilize that?
Food bank primarily gets the food from donations or from our own purchasing at the local grocery store. There is 130 students and families who come by every time we're open for the food bank. So 130 current students who are in residential programs on campus are walking through, and they get to go through free of charge. It's set up sort of like a very small gas station convenience store, but you go through certain items, and based on the family size, you can choose a certain number of canned goods or a certain number of this item or a certain number of boxes of cereal or things like that. We tend to be overrun with hordes for shopping days because people love free food, and the challenge is just keeping it stocked and keeping managing the donations that come in. Sometimes donations come in large quantities. Sometimes it's individuals who will bring one little plastic bag of soup because they want to be helpful. And so we try to be gracious and we try to welcome all donations, even though some are very significant and some are more emotional than significant. Yeah. So we are collecting in between shopping weeks, we're collecting, and we're also going to the local grocery store, and the seminary has budgeted money for us to supplement what we're not getting in donations. And so we're the staff is shopping, they're picking up, they're stocking, they're checking for dates, and then getting set up for the next herd of buffalo that come through and ravage the place. So I think someone has calculated it's $250 or so a month that people can get for free if they're shopping twice during the month. And so that takes the edge off. It's not a full service. There are some people who have unique or dietary issues that are unique as compared to the grand group. So we don't buy the individual product that someone wants out of 130. We can't do individual shopping, but we do a lot of general stuff that most everyone works. And then sometimes there's some options where people can find gluten-free pasta some month, but maybe not the next month based upon what's come in.
What kind of items, as far as like basic needs go, what can people find there? And is it just groceries? Are there like toiletry options too?
Yeah, there's a little bit of toiletry. We have a very kind and generous donor from Illinois who brings diapers once a month. And personally, I don't need diapers currently, but for families, diapers are a real cost, and they do this one particular couple make it their gift or their donation is to bring diapers. So we have a diaper section, we have a baby food section that's donated, and we have some toiletries that come and go. So the hard part is someone will give us a pack of 12 toothbrushes, but you can't really, what do you do with 12 toothbrushes? And you can't cut them up and make them individually sanitary. So, we will get
Black Friday doorbuster deals. First 12 through the door.
The first one gets one toothbrush,
Right.
Yeah, unused probably. So I do think it's a lot about donations. In general, the things that happened are similar to most food banks. You have a lot of canned goods, you have mixes and stuffing and gravies and chips and that kind of thing. So there's the general food stuff. We also have a number of folks who donate meat, or they have a side of beef that they'll butcher and provide for us, or we'll be purchasing chicken and things like that. So the chicken, frozen pizzas, milk, cheese, eggs are always hot. And it also matches what the costs are. So folks have really gotten excited about chocolate chips and eggs as the price of chocolate chips and eggs has gone up. And so we're going through many more eggs. I think people are looking and identifying what's the most expensive item. And so sometimes they're shopping not for what they'll use, but this is a supplement, So if we have laundry soap, they can grab a laundry soap and they don't have to get it somewhere else. So
it's a real benefit to families, and I've heard students use it in different ways. And I don't know if you've heard any stories about the ways that they utilize the food bank. I know some people have made it like a game to try to figure out if they can eat primarily off the food bank supply. So like it just depends on the shopping days, if you have hamburger, or if you have chicken or whatever, like that becomes sort of the menu for the week. And then I think many, like you say, just kind of use it as the supplement to
we don't provide enough to take care of a month's worth of eating. We clearly don't. Yeah. But it's a supplement that you're not having to go do and shop and that kind of thing. So and the cost is free. So pretty hard to argue. It's hard to argue when you're getting it free. So
Great. Well, I want to know about the Resell It shop.
Resell It shop has a long history. Secondhand shop in general. We have very kind donors that don't want to get rid of clothes or possessions or kitchenware or things like that, and they just know the seminary will need it, and so they'll drop it off at the door and run away in the middle of the night. So we have drop-offs and individuals that collect from their churches or the women's groups and things like that will collect as well. All of the Resell It shop is based upon donations. So the seminary isn't out buying used clothes, and we're not supplementing it with a budgetary number, but we also have suit coats for $2. So, it's a really, if you fit right, because you can't go to the general store and any of the big clothing stores, you have 37 choices of sizes. Well, we have 7 sizes and maybe 2 that will fit you. So every time is a new opportunity. Maybe there's something that will be awesome. Maybe there'll be something that doesn't fit. And so it's all used. It's all donated. We had a very generous donor for a couple of years who was buying many items and shipping. We got 20 crock pots 1 month from this one person, and we had a bunch of clothes. So every time someone walked by, I could tell which one had gone to the resell it shop because that was the coat that the guy gave. So we occasionally will get new things donated, but primarily it's secondhand.
Yeah, and $2 for a suit coat's not a bad deal at all.
No, it's tough to fit you and I, though.
That's true.
Sometimes.
I was going to say, most people who look at me on video, or if you're listening to this and not even watching the video, never can tell that I'm 6'8". And so the big and tall suit coats are fewer and far between. I can remember from my time as a student. But there are certainly a lot of other options in there that are helpful.
Sure.
So that's great. Sure. Well, those are both 2 really good resources to help our students and help take off the edge of some of the costs of being here. And I think one of the great reminders from the things that you were saying is that we're really thankful for our donors too, that there are many people who are very invested in this place and in the students here and supporting, whether that's through our guaranteed tuition or if it's the food bank or the resell it shop, to make sure that the students who come here to study are well provided for and able to make it through.
Yeah, I think it's a kind donor is not based on how much they donate. Right. It's the heart that they bring. So the individual who brings 7 cans of soup has a tremendous hope to make a difference and knows that this will go toward a seminary student. And I think that's fun to see. It isn't very significant when we have 130 students and families ravaging through the store. That particular donation is not very significant, but the concept of the donation and the heart is really nice. And we have a tremendous number of donors who think a lot about others and think a lot about the seminary and how to support it. And we're very fortunate.
Any other questions about the food bank or resell it shop?
No,
before we move on
to the most important part.
I
think it's great. I think it's hopefully people will hear this and think, oh, I can do that. I can come there. They support me, and we certainly do. We want our students to have all the help that they need in all the different ways. So,
Katie, you want to tell us about our next segment?
Yes.
Your favorite?
My favorite, yeah. Mike, the next segment is called Ripe for the Picking or Leave It on the Tree. We're going to name off some somewhat random. I think we went holiday themed this time.
Nice.
We're rapidly approaching the holidays.
Yeah. Yeah. Or are we in the holiday season? Because does Halloween count as a holiday season? Anyway, it doesn't.
Celebrating.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Not to my mother.
So we're going to name off some things. And if you like it, you say ripe for the picking. If you don't like it, you leave it on the tree, and you have to pick one.
Sure.
You can't waffle in the middle.
No problem.
Okay. Ripe for the picking or leave it on the tree. Peppermint.
Right for the picking. I'm in favor. I don't eat it very often until seasons come through.
That's fair.
But I'm pro peppermint and candy cane.
Oh, good.
It's good. Do you
mix my dentist.
Do you mix it in with other things? Like, do you take
No,
it
I'm a straight
pure
peppermint.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're a purist, a peppermint
Yes.
purist.
Yeah, I don't need it in my cookies. I don't need it in the cake. Yes. Yeah. I've got issues.
Yeah, that's all right. To each their own, right?
Yeah. What about you?
It's a ripe for the picking for me too. Only my difference will be I'll take it in a variety of different ways. So, peppermint mocha at Starbucks or someplace during the holiday season is pretty good. Or there's some cookies that come with. I didn't even think about the cookies until you mentioned them, but I would take the cookies with the peppermint.
I'm leaving the cookies on the tree.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. So, I'm pro peppermint too.
I am also pro peppermint, but only in other stuff. Okay. So I guess I'm waffling a little. Like candy canes, no. Peppermint mocha, oh yeah.
I never thought I would take the position of being pro peppermint, like using that phrase to describe it, but here we are. Alrighty, so ripe for the picking or leave it on the tree. Real Christmas trees.
Transitional. My bride and I cut down trees and hauled them back to our house for 20 years or so. And when we moved from New York State, we lost, that's less available in St. Louis.
Yes.
And so we instead went to Walmart and purchased a tree, an artificial tree. So we are currently artificial tree aficionados, but each year my bride remembers how much fun it was to cut down a tree and haul it and have a live tree.
Real trees, I'm going to have to leave them on the tree. I'm just tired of them. Either you get one that you can hang all your ornaments on and they won't fall off, but then it's really pokey, or all your ornaments fall off and they're just like floppy. So no, leave it on the tree.
Well, since I put it out there, it is a ripe for the picking for me. It was a family tradition when I was growing up living in Wisconsin to go find them, and also more trees easily available in
Yeah, have
Wisconsin.
you found a place in St. Louis where you can go cut your own?
Yeah, it's down south from here. It's probably about 45 minutes,
Okay.
But we do drive and cut it down. But
It's a family event.
that was a fun memory growing up, and continuing that on with my kids has been fun too. I like the smell, and even if you have to clean up the needles and get poked a little bit, it's still fun.
I never thought I would be anti-real Christmas tree, but
Here you are.
I'm changed. Okay. Ripe for the picking or leave it on the tree. Green bean casserole.
Stronger than leave it on the tree. That is not attractive to me at all.
Wow.
Yeah, my mother was a functional cook, and so you warmed up things, but there wasn't flavor, there wasn't seasoning or anything added. You just got green beans, and so the casserole was just sort of baked, but it was, it caused long-term damage. I still don't eat
Wow.
green beans, so that's easy for me.
That was a very quick leave it on the tree.
Yep.
It's a ripe for the picking for me. It's a leave it on the tree for my wife, though, so we don't usually get it. So unless I make a little small, like individual size,
Just for you.
which doesn't make a whole lot of sense most of the time. But no, I like it.
It's ripe for the picking in theory, but I don't eat the wheat anymore, so I'm pretty sure I can't eat any of that.
Right.
It's delicious.
Maybe they'll come up with a gluten-free version of all of the ingredients. So.
I'm sure it's like 8 times the price, but could be worth it.
And it's good, but not
Not
8
great.
times the price.
Yeah.
Well, my last one for you, right for the picking or leave it on the tree, is snow.
Right for the picking. Yeah, I'm pro snow. We lived for 23 years in a place that got 100 inches of snow a year.
Wow.
So it was in upstate New York, and the snow came over the lake, or the moisture came over the lake, and lake effect dumped on the south side of Lake Ontario. So we were used to 100 inches of snow a year. So our first winter in St. Louis, when schools closed and we didn't know why, there was a lot of. It's just not a. It's a. The area has to practice still driving in winter weather. It just hasn't. We don't have enough experience in it here. So I like snow. I think it's very nice. I enjoy when driving is safe too. But I think that it adds a beauty, and it takes me back to the winter sports and things like that I grew up doing. So
Ripe for the picking. I do love snow. I don't like the cold, which makes for a weird
sometimes they
opinion.
come together.
Yeah, every once in a while. We don't get enough snow here, though, I will say. So
That could be a recruiting point, though, for people who
Yeah,
don't like snow.
either you hate that or you
St.
love
Louis is
that.
not a place that you're going to get a whole lot of snow at.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, we average 5 inches or so a year is what the report says.
Yep.
So,
and not all at once.
and some people, right, and that's in 2 or 3 storms. And storms in my
Storms.
experience is different, but it's same with you guys. You've had different experiences.
Yep.
So.
Right. Yeah, it's right for the picking for me. It was probably all winter as a kid growing up, but as I became an adult, I sort of narrowed it down to I like snow from like November through New Year's, have it for Christmas so it's pretty, and then once January rolls around, I'm ready for spring. But no, I like how it makes things look. I like the things that you can do outside and just kind of having fun in the snow. So. Awesome. Well, Mike, thanks for joining us today and shedding a little bit of light on these resources that we have available for students here on campus. We appreciate the time that you spent. And for those of you listening, we'd love to host you for a visit here on campus. If you're interested in applying, you can find more information about visits on our website. And for everybody else, if you know of a student who should be applying, help us to identify them, to encourage them, and then get them connected here with us. Also, like, subscribe, share, do all the things you do with podcasts so that others can find out more about the seminary and the ways that you can go about enrolling. And we look forward to seeing you next time under the fig tree.